I want to leave the world in a better place than I had found it. And in university, the main way that I could do that was donating and volunteering my time to different causes in my community that I cared about. But then when I started working, I realized that I still wanted to do that, but my biggest limiting factor was now not having the time because I was working full time.
I know something like 38 times the average income of somebody living in the world. If it's not me doing my bit to solve these problems, then who? Obviously I should be solving these problems, or at least doing whatever I can.
From a young age, I think I had a desire to try to change that landscape of suffering that I saw around me, and to use the resources and the privileges that I'd been given living where I did, not just on my side of Austin Boulevard, but also in a wealthy, developed country like the United States.
I wanted to make sure I have done enough good when my life ends. So I think this is actually from a quite selfish perspective, because I don't want to die regretting that I haven't done enough good with my resources.
I think two things happen. One is you make the world a better place at a much faster rate. And two is you feel better, actually. You don't have to worry about whether you're doing good in the world or whether you're going to have a positive impact. You're saving lives every day.
So I quite like the idea of having tangible evidence of what I'm doing. Often when you send money to countries abroad, you don't see precisely what you're doing.
Hi folks, Liv here. The reason why Effective Giving Day is so important to me is, there are so many problems in the world. It can feel almost overwhelming, right? And making that choice between where to donate our limited resources to is very difficult. In an ideal world, we'd just have all the money in the world to donate to everywhere. But the fact of the matter is that some problems are much larger than others, some are much more neglected than others, and affect many more people. And so we have to make these difficult choices, kind of like how a triage doctor has to figure out which hospital resources to prioritize to which patients. We kind of have to do the same thing for the world's problems too. So that's really what effective giving is all about. It's about acknowledging that we only have limited resources that we can donate, and using both the head and the heart to ensure that that money is spent in the most wise and effective way possible. So if this resonates with you, then please join me today.
G'day folks, and thanks so much to Liv also for setting the scene on why giving effectively is so important. My name is Luke Freeman, and I'd like to welcome everyone to Effective Giving Day 2022. If you're watching live on the stream, please use the chat to introduce yourself and ask questions. Our team and the community will be there to chat and respond as well. So, we're all here today because we're excited by the impact that we can have when we use our money to help others as effectively as we can. And you might be surprised to know that only 3% of people donate based on charity effectiveness. This means that 97% of people are potentially missing out on doing more good with their donations. By joining us today, you're demonstrating that you care enough to make a meaningful effort to give effectively. But first, let's take a moment to think about why we care about giving effectively in the first place. Sure, we want to avoid wasting money. Who doesn't? And of course, we want to avoid funding programs that might end up doing more harm than good. But ultimately, what's important is that we help others. But when we're faced with so many problems, so many things that we could do, it can be overwhelming. It can feel like a drop in the bucket. Yet, we can make an incredible difference. We can save and improve so many more lives simply by being intentional with our giving. By finding the world's most important problems and funding the most effective charities, we can make the world so much better for all its inhabitants and for generations to come. So today we're going to explore how to give more effectively. We're going to go through the latest news and updates on effective giving. We're going to get your questions answered by experts on effective giving. Interspersed throughout the event will also be some clips from you and from some special guests. But first, why do members of our community choose to give effectively?
So I was in college and I was reading a blog that I'd found. It was talking about basically how emotion-provoking ideas motivates people to engage with something. This blog writes about a lot of things, and one of them is charitable giving, and those are the posts that are least read. And I kind of thought about it and I was like, that seems bad. I should probably go read this post.
After I'd watched this Peter Singer TED Talk, I was then talking to my partner at the time, and I said, oh, this sounds like such a good idea. Like, why don't more people do this?
I knew already in the back of my head that giving effectively is something that I should do.
And I became interested in effective giving through the kind of philosophical angle.
Since I was a young teenager, I had been struggling with depression. Really want to take away the suffering of other people and also promote more flourishing.
Spent hours and hours of the smaller wee hours of the morning reading up Peter Singer books about morality and the problems in the world.
Giving actually, according to some scientific research, gives you amount of happiness that you didn't expect. And with the point with like effective charities is like you can have a relatively low cost to save more lives.
Effective giving isn't just like a trivial part of my day or something I do once a year, but it's become more ingrained in my identity. I've decided not that this is something I do once, but this is how I do things going forward and throughout my life as a whole.
Welcome back. Gosh, I find it so inspiring, very heartwarming, and to be honest, really motivating to hear why people in our community give and give effectively. But now let's look at the how of giving effectively. If you want to give effectively, there are three main things to consider when choosing where to give. Beneficiaries, who needs your help, causes, how should you help, and charities, who can you trust to help. Let's go through each of these in turn, starting with the beneficiaries. Research shows that we're biased towards helping those who are similar to us in some way. We're also more likely to be motivated by a good story that features shocking events with compelling imagery and sympathetic victims. While these emotional triggers may be valuable in that they drive us to act, they're not always best for deciding who we should help. Being effective with our giving starts by taking the time to decide who we help based on how much we can help them, rather than how much they appeal to our emotions. We can have more impact by being more impartial and expanding our moral circle beyond just caring about those closest to us and those likely to appeal to us. We can expand our care across many dimensions, especially across space, time, and species. We can go beyond caring just for people like ourselves to caring about all humans alive today, wherever and whoever they may be. Beyond caring for just those living right now, to caring about future generations and the world that they'll inherit. And beyond caring just about humans and maybe our pets, to all other sentient beings and their well-being. Based on our registration and audience statistics, I can assume that you're likely to either live in one of the richest places on Earth, work in a relatively well-paid job, or have a university degree. Many of you tick all these boxes. That means that you're among the luckiest alive. And those similar to you are likely among the luckiest also. Yet we often find the most disenfranchised groups, those least similar to the most privileged people, are the ones who can benefit the most from our help. If you're willing to help those further away from you in space, time, or species, those whose needs tend to be unfairly ignored, then you're likely to have more impact.
I really want to help people and animals living right now or in the short-term future. So I give my money mostly to organizations like Against Malaria Foundation, Evidence Action, Schistosomiasis Control Initiative, and some other animal welfare organizations like Good Food Institute and Animal Charity Evaluators.
My giving is influenced by my work, kind of in an inverse way. I work in global pandemics and biosecurity, and so I wanted to give in a more direct global health way that was helping people right now. So I give to Partners in Health to help build a maternal center of excellence in Sierra Leone. And my wife gives to GWWC's top effective health charities. So it's kind of like I'm helping the long-term future with my job, and I'm helping the short-term people that are alive today with my giving.
Once we're focusing on the beneficiaries that we can help them most, we need to figure out how to help them. This is the intervention or cause that we focus on. People typically believe that the difference between a great charity working within the same area might do about 1.5 to 2 times as much good than an average one. But research shows the best charities can do up to 10 times or even 100 times more good. For example, the charity evaluator GiveWell estimates that providing medicine to prevent malaria can save a life for about $5,000. Whereas in richer countries like the US, UK, and Australia are typically willing to spend over $1 million to save a life. That's 200 less lives saved per dollar. Fortunately, this kind of evaluation is relatively straightforward for many direct interventions that provide a good or a service. We can gather data on how many people they help and how much it costs to help each person. But there are other forms of charity, some that are much harder to measure, such as advocacy and research. How do we go about comparing effectiveness across many different causes and types of charities? Well, this is where it gets a bit more complicated. But we found that you can narrow in on some of the highest impact opportunities across causes by focusing on solving big, neglected, and tractable problems. Solving bigger problems help us save and improve more lives by a greater amount for a longer period of time. You can have more impact by working on bigger problems. But also neglected problems. Those are ones that are in need of attention and have lots of low-hanging fruit. Popular problems, they tend to attract more attention and resources, so that more fruitful opportunities for impact can often be found in unpopular problems. And finally, you can often have more impact on problems that are easier to solve. More tractable problems have known solutions, or at least a way of making progress.
For me, that means not just people, but also animals. That means not just people close to me, but people wherever they may live, both in time and in space. I've used the EA funds, like effective altruism funds, which are organized by sort of 4 cause areas that researchers have realized are like particularly valuable causes to give in. So I donate to those primarily towards the long-termist fund, which is aimed at future generations, just because I'm aware of how many future generations there could potentially be, how many future people there could potentially be.
I think it's crazy that like a small amount of money donated to like an effective animal advocacy group can like get a whole bunch of chickens out of cages or pigs out of cages and give them a happier life, or people can get anti-malaria medication to stop them from having a horrible disease. If I can make the life better for some animals or some people in a really meaningful way, that's like so important to do. And it doesn't matter if I don't do everything, I can still make a really big difference.
We're rarely in a position to directly help the beneficiaries who most need our help. Fortunately, we're living at a time where with just a few clicks, we can send our money to charities anywhere on Earth that do the work for us. But how can we trust them to do a good job on our behalf? Well, there are a few key things we should look for when researching a charity. Firstly, are they working on a high-impact cause? Secondly, how strong is their evidence of cost effectiveness? And thirdly, can they productively use extra funding? These criteria are super important, but they're tough to evaluate all on our own. Luckily though, you can rely on the expertise of charity evaluators and grant makers who are finding the best possible charities to give your money to. Organisations such as GiveWell and Animal Charity Evaluators provide in-depth analysis of different charities so that you can make an informed decision about where to give. For instance, thanks to the work of GiveWell, we know that it costs $5 to make and distribute an insecticide-treated bed net that protects up to 2 people for 2 to 3 years from malaria. They have reliable estimates that it costs about $3,000 to $5,000 on average to save a human life with this intervention.
It's really important to focus on the effective part of giving, because we can often give money to charities and not really know where it's going to go, how it's going to help people, and it's really important for the impact that those resources are going to have to think carefully about, okay, which problems are the most pressing in the world, how can we make the greatest difference, and trying to be really, take a really rational approach to that.
I think this is just easy to understand. Just like analogy, when you go to grocery shopping, you will choose the item with the highest cost effectiveness. And then when you donate, you should also think likewise. And it's actually a higher stake, in my opinion, because this involves whether you save more lives or just spending money on some ineffective ones.
In the past, I would donate to charities and not know what was happening, feel good about donating, but now I feel like even better because I feel like I know I'm donating to some of the best charities I can and doing a lot of good with more confidence than before.
Expert grant makers can help donors have even more impact with their giving if they choose to pool their donations together into charitable funds. This way, professional staff can research and perform due diligence on behalf of the fund's donors. They can identify where extra funding is needed most, and then make grants to the most effective organisations when the most impactful opportunities are identified. GiveWell and Animal Charity Evaluators both have funds that only direct donations to their top charities, and this is a great option for donors who value more certainty alongside expert allocation. But we also recommend other funds that often make more bespoke, lower certainty but higher reward grants by trusted evaluators such as EA Funds, Founders Pledge and Longview Philanthropy. These are also great options for impact-oriented donors who want to put their donation in the hands of expert grant makers. We have links to many more resources, as well as high-impact charities and funds, as well as trusted grant makers and evaluators at givingwhatwecan.org. There you can also join our community of over 20,000 donors and more than 7,000 people who've pledged to give at least 10% of their lifetime income to high-impact charities. By being part of a community, you can also get the support and advice that helps you give more effectively.
If you just told me that this random person also took the pledge, I mean, it at least tells me that, like, we have similar values and we care about making the world better and we're actively doing something to make sure that happens.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely how welcoming everyone is, how interesting everyone is, how much I value having people with these same values has become so important to me.
Donating is an inherently really fun thing to do. So one thing that I've been doing over the last few years is getting friends together for a weekend or for an evening and just donating together and making it a fun and collective activities. We just hung out, caught up and decided what causes we were going to donate this money to. And it made giving such a rewarding and enjoyable, fun experience.
You can join the global community of thousands of people, and I believe soon it will be tens of thousands of people. These are a group of ambitious, kind, smart, caring people, and you might make lifelong friendship with them.
We're all social animals, and so being part of a community of people that are proud of you for doing the things that you do and working together with you to make the world a better place through using your resources, whether it's donations or your time. That makes it a lot easier and exciting to be a part of that community. So it doesn't feel like a sacrifice. It feels like being part of like an amazing mission, and that's so much more fulfilling. So that community is really important to me.
So this has just been a short primer of how to give effectively, but I hope that by now you feel a bit more equipped and know that you can find links to all of these resources and much more detail at givingwhatwecan.org. Next up, we're going to hear a few words from two more special guests, including moral philosopher Peter Singer and best-selling author Rutger Bregman.
Hi, I'm Peter Singer. About 50 years ago, I published an article called Famine, Affluence and Morality, in which I argued that just as it would be wrong to walk past a drowning child in a shallow pond whom you could easily save, so it's wrong for people who are affluent and spend money on things that they don't really need to ignore the needs of people in low-income countries in extreme poverty, whose lives could perhaps be saved or whose sight could be restored by a donation that would not make any kind of comparable difference to your life if you spent that money on yourself. Effectively is really important. I've written a book about that now called The Life You Can Save. This is the current edition, and if you'd like to read more, you can download it absolutely free from thelifeyoucansave.org. Giving has enriched my life. It's given a sense of purpose to what I do. I'm more interested in helping people than I would be in spending money on a more luxurious lifestyle myself. And there's lots of research in psychology that suggests that people generally are happier when they're generous, when they help others, and above all, when they have a purpose in life that gives them a kind of fulfillment that otherwise they would not have. So do think about your giving, and do think about how to make that gift as effective as possible in terms of doing the most good you can with whatever it is that you can spare.
Hey everyone, my name is Rutger Bregman, and I'm the author of a couple of books, Humankind, you may know, or Utopia for Realists. And well, I'd love to share my journey with you of how I found out about the existence of Giving What We Can, and why in 2020 I signed the Giving Pledge. So to be honest, I've known about effective altruism and Giving What We Can for quite a while. I think basically ever since they were founded. And initially, I didn't do all that much with it. I guess in the back of my head, I did have this feeling like, sometime I should think about, what I do with donations and all of that. But it was only when my last book, Humankind, was quite successful and the royalties started coming in that I thought, okay, now I want to be serious about this. So started doing my research, again stumbled upon this astounding graph that you've probably seen as well, that shows you the distribution of income globally. And I looked up the numbers and again found out that if you're earning just a median wage here in the Netherlands, where I'm from, you already are part of the 3.5 richest in the world. If you are highly educated, you're part of the richest 2%. If you're a best-selling author, well, I don't even want to know. So I thought, okay, let's get serious with this. I signed the pledge, started giving, and to be honest, it's been one of the more wonderful experiences in my life so far. The funny thing, I guess, is that many people think that when they give, it's gone, right? But for me, it feels I still own my gift. I really love the overview that I have on the website of Giving What We Can, where I can see all my donations. And it feels like investing in shares, right? That I own these shares and I'm just looking at these investments and just seeing, what the return on investment is. And not in terms of how much more money I get to buy more stuff I don't need, but in terms of doing good in the world, right? So that's how I see it. This portfolio, it's like my resume, right? My doing good resume. So yeah, I really love that, and it's become a little bit addictive, right? To log in again and again to the portfolio. What my wife and I now do is that every year after we pay our taxes, because taxes. First you pay your taxes. And then we calculate what our 10% is, or maybe a little bit more than that. And then, we have a discussion based on, the latest evidence we have from Giving What We Can or GiveWell or, whatever other reliable source. And then we make the donations. So that's basically our ritual today. And I think it's pretty wonderful. And I would highly recommend it to other people who are, in a similar position. Obviously, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, then that's a different kind of story. But I recently looked up the numbers, and in the Netherlands, it's only 0.4% that people donate on average, and that's even true for relatively rich people. And I think that's a shame, because donating can actually be one of the most meaningful things in your life.
Thanks so much to Peter and Rutger for sharing your motivations for giving effectively and for all the fantastic work you do advocating for a better world. Next up, I'd like to welcome Olympian Marcus Daniel, journalist Dylan Matthews, and best-selling author AJ Jacobs sharing where they give and why.
Hi, I'm Marcus Daniel. Giving effectively has made my life better in a number of ways. Firstly, it just feels right. But I think the biggest way that it's made my life better is in adding a deeper purpose to what I do with my day-to-day. So in 2016, I first made the Try Giving pledge to donate 1% of income to effective organizations. And the moment I pledged a percentage of my earnings, it completely changed the way that I felt about tennis. Tennis is a very selfish sport. I think all sport is selfish to some degree. We have to push ourselves ahead of those around us to win, to progress. And so making this percentage pledge meant that in the pursuit of excellence and winning extra matches that made me go up the rankings and earn more money, there was a piece of that was for something so much bigger than myself. And over the years I built that pledge up, and a couple of years ago made the full pledge, the 10% pledge for the rest of my life. And it just feels amazing knowing that part of what I'm doing in my day-to-day is going to help make the world a better place.
Hi, I'm Dylan Matthews. I'm a senior correspondent at Vox, and I signed the Giving What We Can pledge back in January 2016. And ever since then, I've been donating at least 10% of my income to highly effective charities. Right now, because I'm a journalist and I want to sort of minimize conflicts of interest that might come from supporting charities I might write about, I just give to the top charities fund at GiveWell, which largely goes to some of their anti-malaria, vitamin A supplementation, and sort of other super effective public health charities. And I'm very grateful I did this. I was donating to some of these causes beforehand, but I think formalizing it was a really positive step for me. It keeps me honest. It keeps me committed to making donations that I know are saving lives, and particularly saving lives of children and people early in their life. And it also, I think, is nice as I get older, and sort of one thing that happens often in many careers as you get older is you get raises and your life gets a little more comfortable. Maybe you get married and your partner is also making money, and together you can have a bit more resources. And I have a lot of friends who've experienced that happening, and their reaction is to sort of buy more and more stuff, which is understandable. That's the normal thing to do. But once you get to a point where you're like, hey, I could maybe afford a boat, don't buy the boat. You don't have to buy the boat. You don't need a boat. And the money that could go to the boat could go to save someone's life from malaria, to prevent them from dying for a lack of vitamin A, could deworm them and help them live longer, according to some recent research there. It could help provide incentives that get people vaccinated and save their lives. It could improve lives for animals. It could do all kinds of things that highly effective charities do. So I think it's been a very rewarding thing for me, and I really recommend anyone who wants to make the world a better place, sign the Giving What We Can pledge. It's a great way to start.
Hello, my name is AJ Jacobs, and I am excited to be giving today to a wonderful charity, Helen Keller International's Vitamin A Supplementation Program. This is a charity that works to reduce malnutrition and blindness in sub-Saharan Africa. And there is strong evidence that it is an effective and high-impact program. It's been endorsed by the folks at GiveWell, an organization of which I'm a big fan. And today, on Effective Giving Day, I am donating $5,000 to Helen Keller International's program. And I will provide matching donations for any donations up to a total of an additional $5,000. So thank you and happy holidays.
Days like today make me so proud to be part of a community that's taken action on important global issues. We've come such a long way, and I'm really humbled by what's been achieved together by this diverse range of really compassionate people. What started as a small number of individuals just trying to help others has now grown into a blossoming community with over 100,000 donors from over 97 countries who've together donated more than $1 billion to high-impact charities, and we're just gaining momentum. These donations are going to save over 150,000 human lives from preventable and treatable diseases. They're going to positively impact millions, if not billions, of animal lives, as well as accelerating technologies to mitigate climate change, to fund research into how to prevent pandemics, amongst other many high-impact priorities. But even though we've managed to make impressive progress on some of the world's most important issues, there's still a lot more to be done. By encouraging a global shift to effective charity, though, we can work together to solve the biggest problems facing us faster than ever before. As a global effective giving movement grows, new organisations start, and established organisations refresh their strategies, and they find new ways to increase their impact. In this next section, we're going to learn the latest updates from organisations and experts in effective giving from around the world.
I have two exciting updates to share with you on Giving What We Can's research. The first is that we've just completed our giving recommendations process for this giving season. That means that we've collected the recommendations of 5 trusted evaluators: GiveWell, Animal Charity Evaluators, Founders Pledge, EA Funds, and Longview Philanthropy, together in one place, namely our donation platform, which was previously called EA Funds, and we've highlighted the recommendations on a page for everyone to use, both donors and other organizations which may want to pick from these recommendations from these reputable evaluators. The second thing I'd like to update you on is that we have more ambitious plans next year. As a research team, we're planning to start evaluating the evaluators themselves. So look into their methodology, their processes, and be a quality check on the recommendations that are made. This is because there's now quite a few evaluators out there. It's hard to have an overview of organizations and to know whom to trust and who to rely on. So we think there's the need for an independent evaluation. We don't think we'll get it right away. We think we'll make many mistakes. So we'll aim to communicate transparently about what we find, about our mistakes, and hope to be of service to the community as a whole, not just donors directly, but also all the organizations out there that are currently fundraising for effective giving. So keep an eye out. We'll update you on this throughout the year, and looking forward to seeing you soon.
GiveWell has gone through substantial growth in 2022. We're thrilled to have found over $750 million in highly cost-effective giving opportunities. But our best guess is that we will raise less than this amount in donations. This means we're likely to leave a lot of impact on the table, representing tens of thousands of lives that could be saved if we had funding for these opportunities. We're very grateful for the support of our community and invite you to help us exceed our fundraising expectations to make an even bigger impact in people's lives this year. If you'd like to donate, we offer multiple giving options on our website. One way to give is through our All Grants Fund, introduced earlier this year. This fund is a new way for donors to support the full range of GiveWell's grant making. Contributions to this fund are allocated to the highest priority opportunities that we've found. So far this year, we've been able to fund programs focused on water chlorination, new tools to fight malaria, and maternal health. If you have any questions, reach out to us at info@givewell.org.
Hi, I'm Heather Harrell, Director of Philanthropy for Animal Charity Evaluators, and I have some exciting news to share with you. We have just released our 2022 charity recommendations. Our research team has spent months conducting rigorous evaluations to select the charities we believe are doing the most good for animals. To support our recommended charities and the effective work they do to reduce animal suffering, we've launched our Recommended Charity Fund Matching Challenge, where all donations will be doubled up to $300,000 thanks to a generous legacy donor. If you'd like to learn more about our 2022 top and standout charities, as well as how to support them, please visit our website at animalcharityevaluators.org. Thank you and happy Effective Giving Day.
Founders Pledge is a global nonprofit empowering entrepreneurs to do the most good possible with their charitable giving. We equip members with everything needed to maximize their impact, from evidence-led research and advice on the world's most pressing problems to comprehensive infrastructure for global grant making alongside opportunities to learn and connect. In 2022, our research team published new research on air pollution, oral health, giving multipliers, and autonomous weapons systems. Our climate fund made large investments in the global growth of some of the most effective charities in the space, and we launched a new global catastrophic risks fund. We also evaluated and recommended highly effective charities working on reducing lead exposure, encouraging infant immunization, accelerating scientific research, and improving U.S. policy on risks posed by emerging technologies. This year, Founders Pledge grew to over 1,700 members, spread across almost 40 countries. To date, our members have pledged over $8 billion to charity and donated $800 million to the charitable sector, including more than $50 million to the most effective charities.
Hi everybody, I'm Rutger Bregman, Executive Director of Peter Singer's charity, The Life You Can Save. In the book, The Life You Can Save, our founder Peter Singer talks about creating a culture of effective giving, and that's what we're all about. And one of our key strategies for achieving this is to make information about effective giving more accessible by giving away our book for free via our site. And we are extremely grateful to partners and supporters for helping us do just that in the past year, including JCDecaux, one of Australia's largest advertising companies, running a 12-month pro bono book giveaway campaign for us. Hugh Jackman taking to social media to recommend the book in a video update, and plenty of our supporters using the paperback and digital editions as a tool to introduce family and friends to effective giving. And with the ebook and audiobook available for free on the site and paperbacks only costing us about $2 to print, we welcome your support and ideas to help get the book into more hands and ears in 2023 and beyond. Thank you.
I'm Michael Plant. I'm a research fellow in philosophy at the Wellbeing Research Centre, and I'm also the founder and director of the Happier Lives Institute. The research we do at the Happier Lives Institute is to try and find the most cost-effective, evidence-based ways to improve global well-being. It's quite a big deal. It shows that what we think makes lives better and actually what really does can be quite different, and that's why we need to do the research onto well-being to find out what those things are.
Hola, soy Pablo Melchor,
y dono a organizaciones efectivas por dos motivos. El primero es que, como mucha de la gente que ha nacido en España, me lo puedo permitir sin que mi bienestar o el bienestar de mi familia esté en peligro. Y en segundo lugar, el dinero que dono puede tener un impacto enorme, puede salvar vidas. Por primera vez en la historia podemos saber exactamente con datos qué consigue nuestra donación y podemos elegir las mejores opciones. Espero que quieras unirte a nosotros.
Hi, my name is Chloe Cuddeback, and I give to effective charities because I love helping people, and this way I can help even more people all over the world.
Hi, my name is Sun Ken, and I give to effective charities because I want the biggest bang for my buck, and I want to help as many living beings as I can.
Hallå! Superstort tack till er alla som är med och bidrar till att ge effektivt i Sverige. Och inte minst de 29 personer som har valt att ta en Give Me What We Can pledge i år. Ni gör en så sjukt stor skillnad. Tusen tack!
Hello, I'm Manisha, and I would like to invite people in Australia to donate to effective charities through Effective Altruism Australia.
Gør den størst mulige forskel med de penge, du donerer. Se mere på giveffektivt.dk.
Donors in New Zealand can give via Effective Altruism New Zealand.
Hi, ik ben Bram van Doneer Effectief. Begin dit jaar heb ik besloten om aanzienlijk meer te gaan geven en ook te zorgen dat ik veel effectiever geef. En dat deed ik destijds omdat ik dat een heel logisch besluit vond. Het was een heel rationele keuze van me. Maar wat ik niet had gedacht is dat het me ook zo'n fijn gevoel zou geven. En ik ben er ongelooflijk gelukkig mee dat ik dit nu kan doen. En dat gun ik ieder.
Hallo, liebe Spenderinnen und Spender aus Deutschland und der Schweiz. Ich bin Anne von Effektiv Spenden und würde mich sehr freuen, wenn ihr am Effective Giving Day an besonders wirksame Organisationen auf unserer Seite www.effektiv-spenden.org spenden würdet. Denn gerade in diesen schwierigen Zeiten ist es besonders wichtig, dass jeder gespendete Euro maximale Wirkung erzielt. Die passenden Organisationen dazu findet ihr bei uns www.effektiv-spenden.org. Ganz herzlichen Dank.
Wow, there's just so much going on. I especially loved hearing from some of our amazing partners across the world in their native tongue, talking about how you can help grow effective giving within your region. So don't forget to check out your local organisations by heading to givingwhatwecan.org/countries. Well, a few weeks ago we put out a call on the internet for your questions about giving effectively. Thank you so much for submitting them. We've lined up some experts in the field to answer them now. So now over to our wonderful people who submitted questions and our special guests and effective giving experts who are going to answer them for you.
Hi, I'm Brendan from the United States, and my question is, what are some recent developments, maybe in the last year, in the news, in politics, and technology, some recent development that has changed the way you think about what are the most pressing and important causes to give to invest time in right now?
Something that's really struck me within the last year or so has been the really rapid pace of AI technology. So we've had these hugely impressive machine learning models come out, things like GPT-3, things like DALL-E, and both the pace of this development and also the fact that this technology has the potential to be very transformative to the way that we live has really highlighted to me the importance of making sure this progress is for people's benefit and also making sure that it has as much benefit as possible to people. Second, something that's really struck me this year has been that we're obviously living with the after effects of COVID. A WHO report came out a few months ago, which was saying that rates of depression and anxiety have gone up by about 25%, which is huge. So I think investing in mental health, perhaps especially in areas which don't have the strongest pre-existing mental health infrastructure, seems really important. And then finally, ending on an optimistic note, is that we had the development of the malaria vaccine, which is hugely exciting. It's not likely to be 100% effective, so I think bed nets are still going to be really important, just to make sure I get that in there. But I think that making sure that vaccines are distributed as effectively as possible is going to be really important, and perhaps investing in improvements in vaccine technology more broadly.
I'm John from New York, And I wanted to ask, how do you decide how much money to give to currently pressing issues like global development versus longer term issues like climate change?
Thanks for the question. So at Founders Pledge in general, we do something like worldview diversification, which means in general that we separate our valuations across three worldviews: current generations, long-termism, and animal welfare. And the general idea there is that long-termist or animal welfare concerns could easily swamp global health and well-being concerns if we cross-compared them. So we don't, partially as a result of the constraints under which we operate. And the primary constraint is that we're in a position of trying to convince our members to give money to good causes. But that also creates an opportunity. So basically we evaluate distinctly within each worldview, current gen, long-termism, animal welfare, and identify funding gaps within each worldview. And as a research team, we just generally try and guide people's attention, donors' attention, to the most pressing funding gaps within each worldview. And we prioritize the research broadly according to where we think we can say something useful or find ways that a philanthropist can make a difference.
Hi, my name is Liam. I'm from the United States, and I was wondering, as someone who isn't a particularly high income earner, will my donation really have a meaningful impact on these effective charities?
Thank you very much for your question, Liam, which is a great one. Fortunately, it's also one that has a pretty easy answer, namely yes. Your donation can definitely have a meaningful impact, even if you're not a high income earner. And that's because even if in relative terms it might seem like your donation is a drop in the bucket compared to others who might be able to give thousands, tens of thousands, and millions, billions of dollars to effective charity, even if they are, say, saving thousands of lives, you may still be saving someone's life with your extra donation. And that life would not have been saved were it not for you who have donated. So it's additional, it's extra. You're actually adding something. And the fact that other people are doing that as well and are adding maybe even more impact to the mix in a way, doesn't change the fact that you have added this and that you are meaningfully changing someone's, a real person's or animal's life. So definitely, even if you're not a high income earner, your donation can have a very meaningful impact.
Hi, my name is Floris from the Netherlands. My question is, how do we know that the charities actually have the impact they are portraying that they have? How do we know this both in the short term and in the long term?
That's a great question, and it's a tough one. So I guess to start with, it's worth acknowledging that you're probably never going to know for sure whether a charity is going to have the impact that they say they'll have. And that's just because it's always difficult to predict the future. It's difficult to know whether a politician is going to make the commitments, keep to their commitments. It's difficult to know whether a company is going to achieve the profit it's projecting. So ultimately, it's always going to be some guesswork. I think that there are a few kind of things to touch on that might help you make this guesswork in a more informed way. So first is the type of charity that you're looking at. Some charities do a simple intervention and they do it at scale. So for example, Against Malaria Foundation distributes insecticide-treated bed nets to areas in need, and that's their thing. You can look at their track record and see how well they've done that over the past years, and often that's a very strong indicator of how they're going to do in future. That gives you a sense of maybe how many bed nets, historically, they've been able to distribute per dollar, and therefore some indication of how much it might cost in the future. The more their track record indicates success, then the more confident you could be in the charity. Other charities are more hits-based. It's more uncertain how they're going to do. And for them, for example, a policy organization like Clean Air Task Force, they are trying to advocate for policy changes that improve climate outcomes. How well they do is really uncertain, and even they will say it's difficult to analyze exactly how well they're going to do in future. But you can still take a look at their track record and see whether they've had some big hits and big misses. But ultimately, these hits-based approaches are always going to rely on having a look at what they're doing and seeing if it sounds plausible and seeing whether they have the relevant skills and competencies and expertise to achieve the outcomes that they're aiming towards. The final point I guess I would touch on would be that it's very difficult to know what the charity's track record even is from just looking at the charity's own website. Often it's good to rely on trusted evaluators. So at Giving What We Can, we rely on GiveWell to look at global health charities and animal charity evaluators to look at animal charities. And these organizations are able to spend a fair length of time making sure that they have a good understanding of what that charity's track record is, and also some indications of whether that track record is likely to be indicative of their future outcomes. So I guess those are the points. It's always uncertain. You're going to have to make some guesses. Some charities that have a really strong track record and evidence-based are easier to assess. And then there are hits-based charities that might still be just as, or maybe even more impactful, that are more difficult to assess. But I would recommend turning to trusted evaluators to help you get some kind of indication about that.
Hi, my name is Vask. I sometimes kind of wonder, why should I give if billionaires, which have lots and lots of money, aren't giving?
Some people ask questions like, why should I give when there are billionaires who don't give? And of course, billionaires should give, and some of them do give very substantially. But unfortunately, it's true that many of them don't. But still, you should give because you can make a difference. I agree, billionaires can make a bigger difference, but if we can't persuade them to give, then you can still make a difference, and I still think that's a better thing to do.
Don't be that scared of doing it.
I think the key is baby steps.
Choosing something specific and actionable.
Start small, like you can do it.
Try it with a commitment.
Not pushing yourself too much, knowing where your boundaries are.
Just think about the happiness that it can bring.
Thanks so much to our special guest and to those of you who submitted questions. And thanks to all of you for taking the time out of your day to learn more about giving effectively. Feel free to keep submitting questions in the comments. I hope to see some of you soon in our Gather Town event that's linked to in the video description. We hope that now you're inspired to take action. And if you haven't already, join the Effective Giving community. Because when we come together, we're able to make an incredible impact on some of the world's biggest problems. Together, we can create a better world for all its inhabitants and for generations to come. Until next time, keep on doing good.
I think it's hard to really hold in your mind just how much good you can do. I've continued to give well, but also have expanded to giving to charities that work to improve the lives of future generations, and also that improve the lives of farmed animals. I'm really grateful to be doing that as part of the Giving What We Can community.
Makes me feel super motivated and grateful to all the amazing people who do such great things in the world.
I actually have a great opportunity to contribute to a better world. Namely that I can save one life every 2 years just by donating 10% of my income.
I felt this personal obligation to help, to try and be a part of the solution, but didn't know where to really get involved or what to do with my resources.
For a number of years, I felt a social responsibility to help the lives of others, but didn't know where to start. Giving effectively gives me the confidence and reassurance that the donations that I make have an impact and make a difference in the lives of those who need it the most.
When I first realized that my money could improve other people's lives so much more than my own, I knew that I had to give more. At first, I thought it would be stressful to give up some of the little things that bring me comfort, like getting takeout, for example. But actually, every time I save money knowing that instead of buying me a convenient meal, it's going to help someone start a business or prevent becoming seriously ill, I feel like it's an amazing privilege to have the opportunity to do so much good. It makes my life better to buy big things for others instead of small things for myself.
I give effectively because I feel like I'm able to have an outsized impact on the well-being of others, given the very fortunate position that I'm in.
Giving effectively helps me feel open-hearted and connected to the rest of humanity.
Giving effectively gives a lot of meaning to my life. And whenever I think about what it means to help save someone's life, I just feel like there's nothing better I could ever do with my time and resources.
I first came across Giving What We Can at a talk that I went to as an undergraduate at Oxford University. The talk was about 80,000 hours. But hearing about Giving What We Can really made me raise my ambitions to donate a significant portion of my income and also think really hard about the effectiveness of the charities that I was donating to.
I'm so excited that Giving What We Can is now over 200 times larger than when we launched 10 years ago. It's overwhelming to be part of such a large and friendly community of people, all striving to make the world a much better place.